Out podcast. I'm your host, Jojo, and this is where we will navigate the mess together. That is mental, emotional, and spiritual. Let's get messy. Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Happy whatever day of the week it is when you're hearing this. Thank you for joining me, and let's get into it. So I was on Instagram the other day, and I saw this screenshot or this post of this like whole train metaphor idea. And it's about how we're all on our own timelines and our paths, and one train comes into the station at 8:30 and the other one comes at 6:30, and the trains aren't judging each other, being like, well, why didn't you show up at 6:30? You should have been here at 8:30. Like, everyone has their own train. Everyone's on their own train. Everyone is their own train. And it's this whole concept of why we are so quick to look at our lives and compare them to the lives of the people around us, whether those are our friends, what we do see on social media, what our expectations are from parents, society, pressure, whatever it is. But how it truly comes down to trusting the own timing of your life. And I wanted to get into this and kind of mess this concept up because I've definitely fallen trapped to the whole concept of like, well, I'm not doing this and this person's doing that. And well, why am I like here and they're there? And it's like, well, hang on a second. We all have our own paces, phases, and pathways. And if we're constantly living in this comparison society, comparison is the thief of joy. And we know that. But if we're constantly living in that space, we're not really able to truly trust our lives, our timing, our steps, our moves, because we are living outside of ourselves and in what we want to be grabbing onto. So I'm sure you guys have felt that feeling where maybe it's a friend who's getting married, or you're scrolling through Instagram, or you hear a story about someone that just got engaged and you kind of have that like pit in your stomach or that gut punch. It's like, wow, how are they married? How are they pregnant? Wow, they got a house. They just got promoted. And all of these subconscious critiques of yourself come streamlining in. And you start thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not there yet? So today I want to talk about that little voice and talk about that feeling behind it and really address that feeling is lying to you. And it's not the reality of the situation. And the later that we get into life, or just the more conscious we get with the people around us, we start to question things. But I just want to pause for a second, because who decided that 30 was the deadline for marriage? Who decided that 35 was when you needed to have babies? Who decided that your 20s were when you needed to hustle and that your 40s were going to be when you arrive? This timeline, you guys, is not real. It's projected. Maybe it's inherited, whether that's religion, culture, social media, family, parents, pressure, outside sources. But it's a mental trap because we are measuring our insides against everyone else's outside. We see their highlight reel. We see everything that they're doing in their life, but we're not really seeing behind the scenes. It's like when you really break open someone's story and you realize that they made the money, lost the money, made the money, lost the money, made the money again, lost the money, went through a crazy heartbreak, lost everything, lost their family, and then they made it. All we see is them making it. Rarely do we see the steps that it took to get there. And nobody looks at that train that's arriving at 8:45 and says, oh, how embarrassing. Why didn't you arrive at 6:30? Because everyone knows that every single train has its own route. But we are human beings and we completely forget something as simple as that. Maybe we don't need to lose and win and lose and win, and maybe there's a different avenue. Maybe we need to try out a career path and pivot and move and break up and fall in love again and keep adapting and shifting and follow what we truly want internally so that our external environments start to look like something that we're proud of. Not that we're comparing again, not that we're can I speak? Not that we are in a comparison mode against, but that we truly value. Because on the flip side of that, how many times do you look at people's situations, whether that is their work or their living or their partners, and you're like, God, I could never do that. But yet when we look at people's successes, we judge ourselves. We immediately go, well, hang on, why is that not me? Why don't I have that? I even caught myself doing it recently. I mentioned that I made a huge move. I left New York, moved across the country, etc. And when I got to where I'm living now, it was a slower process than someone who had kind of done something similar on the same timeline as me. But their job was flowing, their living situation was unfolding in a more rapid way than mine. And, you know, it was just completely different. And they said, well, hang on, Jojo, like, this is completely different circumstances. Like, you actually cannot compare what you're going through to me. And they had to completely put me in my place because I was like, oh yeah, duh. And that like little like jealousy streak of like, well, why can't I have that? And this should be happening to me just kind of like left, because it was like, yeah, wait, why am I comparing it to you? Like, it's such different circumstances and a completely different life that you can't even compare apples and oranges at this point. So that's, you know, the mental aspect of this. So mentally, I want you to ask yourself whose timeline you're trying to live by. And have you ever just like sat back and asked yourself, well, what do I really want? Is that even the timeline that's truly inspiring to me, that I actually want, with all of its nooks and crannies and sharp turns? I think there's something to be said, though, about feeling behind in life. Maybe your friends are getting pregnant. Maybe your friends are retiring and you're like, I can't retire yet. Maybe your friends are falling in love and you haven't found the right partner. Maybe some of your friends are getting pregnant or getting married and starting these big chapters, and you're very unsure about the person you're with. And that feeling and those thoughts start to just accumulate, and it's almost like a shame spiral that begins to happen. And the overthinking starts, and the guilt and the I failed sort of feelings. Now, what I'm starting to learn, the more that I understand comparison and look at my own life, when you compare yourself to someone else and you think, oh, well, why don't I have that? Or you start to feel bad about yourself, comparison is only disguised as grief. It's not just jealousy. It's like you're grieving a version of your life that you thought would happen in a certain way, but it either hasn't happened yet or it hasn't happened in the way you thought it would. And that creates those feelings, that deep shame. Maybe it's fear of being unloved or being forgotten, or my biggest one is that I'm not enough. Or maybe it's fear that you've wasted your time. The amount of detours that I have took in my life, and I call them detours even though I know from like a bigger picture, zoom out perspective, that this was all perfectly, strategically timed and that I needed to go through this. But for sake of this conversation, these detours were not delays. They were teachers. I've had relationships, I've had job situations, I've had people in my life that I had to learn very specific lessons about and from for my life, for everything, so that I could get to the next place. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't had all the heartbreak, all the pain, loss, toxic relationships, bad living situations, and many more things that have happened to me. I wouldn't be able to sit in the life that I am sitting in now and living in and truly appreciate it, understand it, or see how necessary it was in retrospect for me to get here. And there's something about timing. I think timing is everything. In fact, I know timing is everything. I met someone a couple years ago, and I promise you, if that relationship had started a couple years ago, it would never have lasted. I mean, maybe it would. How can I say? But I truly believe it really would not have been the right time, situation, or relationship at that point in life. And it was because there was so much of becoming that needed to happen. Career shifts, even making this podcast, resolution of heartbreak, uncovering certain aspects of my life and deeper understanding of myself so that I could arrive in a place where I was available and open and truly in something that wasn't going to take me off of my path, which I've also found. Like, I've been in relationships before where I forget my path and I completely go into their world, and then the relationship ends and it's like, well, hang on, like, where's my path again? And I have to like go like reroute and like find it. So that's why in retrospect, I can see, okay, that relationship didn't start because I wasn't ready. Truly wasn't ready. And yeah, there were so many detours and pivots, but healing and hustling and grieving, those aren't years that are lost. Those are foundation years for the life that truly aligns with where you want to be. And sometimes it feels like we're stalling. Like a train, it stops at a station, sometimes stays there for a little while. Sometimes it feels like we're stuck, like we're not going anywhere. But sometimes those pauses, sometimes those moments that you're just like, okay, things can't move forward right now in whatever aspect of my life right now because there's something here that I need to address. And if you're just in constant go, forward motion, get to the next thing, there's a time and place for that. But there's also a time for learning lessons that go, 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 or that speed can never teach you. So emotionally, what if that delay, what if that feeling of being left behind or not enough is actually the thing that's saving you from something that you actually can't see on the other side of it? The truth is, you weren't built for someone else's life. And we all know that, and it's a huge cliche. What is Oscar Wilde's quote? Like, actually, let me look it up. I forget. Hey Siri, what is the Oscar Wilde quote about only wanting to be yourself because everybody else is taken? Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Siri. If you truly had someone else's house, relationship, life, partner, job, you would most likely feel empty. Because it wasn't yours. It wasn't yours to begin with. And what is meant for you, as I said in the beginning, will never pass you by. So I want to offer maybe a reframing on this. Because spiritually, something needs to shift in order for this to be grounded. And I want you to ask yourself, are you on your own path and your own train? Or are you too busy focusing on or trying to catch a train that was never yours? Because the reality is, we all start from different points in our lives. We all start from a different station. You're not carrying their luggage. You weren't privy to their support. You weren't wrecked in their storms. So why are you using their arrival times to measure the significance of your life? And where does trusting come into this spiritual intelligence that you're trying to wire and build in your life. You're not late. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you're exactly on time. And one day you're going to look back and be like, whoa, all these little puzzle pieces, all these little moments had to happen for me to get here. All the lessons are finding you along the way so that you can build that life that's truly yours on your own train, on your own path, with your own luggage, navigating next to people that hop on and off that train, that are on different paths, that get on a different subway, whatever. You really have to trust your direction. A train doesn't apologize for arriving when it arrives. And neither should you. So, spiritually, what would it feel like to fully release this timeline, this pressurized timeline that you have put on yourself, but that society has put on you, or that Instagram or your friends or your family or whomever have made you feel, and to really trust that you're not behind, but you were fully in your becoming. And you're going to feel those gut punches. They're going to happen. That's human. That's life. We're not trains. But maybe next time you're scrolling on social media, or maybe next time your mom's asking you why you don't have a boyfriend, or maybe next time you feel that sheer panic of, oh my God, everyone else is ahead of me in their career and in this, and I'm maybe you just stop and ask yourself, whose route am I on? Mine? Or what society is making me feel like I need to be? Because as you go, and as you rewire this mentality, you will start to realize, wow, this is fully my life. I'm making my own rules. I'm choosing my own stops. I'm veering off the tracks and going on a completely different route. And you start to look back and go, wow, if I had stayed because of that expectation or that person or that career, and I didn't pivot when I felt I needed to, that's not your path. That's still someone else's. But if you are truly embracing your wants, your needs, your desires, your direction, that's going to be a life that you are so dang proud of. So if this episode hit different for you, which I'm sure it did, because we're always trying to catch up with our own selves, and there's never enough time, and oh my God, I need to do this, and I feel behind in my career, and I need to make more money in order for this, Y, and Z to happen. Hold on, no. Just pause. Trust that this is exactly where you need to be. And if you're having conversations like this with the people in your life, please send it to them. Because maybe they just need a little bit of a rewiring, a rerouting, if you will, to come back to self, to come back to source and be like, hold on, this is my life and I'm in control. I'm the conductor on this train and I will conduct my life as such. All right, you guys, you know where to find me at _insideout.podcast. Also on Substack. Scroll down to the show notes and you can subscribe for weekly emails there. More conversation, and even respond to me and let me know what you think about the episode. But until then, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep messing it up out there, and see you next Wednesday. Have a great week. Bye.